Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and this is the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, the music podcast on where I interview singers and musicians from genres of black music: gospel, jazz, blues, old school classic soul, old school hip hop, today's hip hop and R&B, Caribbean, Latin, Afrobeat, Afro-Latina, blue-eyed soul, disco, go-go, line dances, and the Lost 45s. So come with me as I take you on to a trip to the destination genre of black music right now on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Legal Shield is a proud sponsor of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Have you been involved in any types of accidents? Have you been a victim of identity theft? Have you been a victim of a computer fraud scam? Have you been in disputes with your tenants or landlords? If your loved one dies and they didn't write up a will for you or for your family, or you and your spouse are filing for divorce, or if you need help by opening up your small business, give Legal Shield a try. Visit their website at LegalShield.com and tell them you heard it here on the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Do it today. You'll be glad you did. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., creator and host of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. Now, before I bring up my special guest, I have good news to share with you. I have a new website, and you can look for it at the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's right, folks. I have a new website called the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. If you have a computer, laptop, notebook, or if you have a desktop computer and it has either MSN or AOL, make sure you type in the name of my podcast website, the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. And if you have Google on your smartphone, make sure you type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's where you find all of my news blogs, or whatever you want to call it. That's where I tell you what's going to be on the next episode for the entire month. So please check out my website and please pass it on. Make sure you check out my website, the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. That's the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast.com. In the meantime, enjoy today's episode and thank you for your support. Welcome to the Black Soul Music Experience. I'm Sam Wilson Jr., and I have a special guest on my show, and it's a blue-eyed soul, white chocolate episode. This lady that I'm about to introduce is my returning guest representing the state of Pennsylvania. She's a blue-eyed soul singer and songwriter who grew up on Motown, soul artists of the 60s, and hip-hop. I've downloaded a couple of songs back in 2023 and 2024, and let me tell you, she got soul. And today, she has two new country songs, including Don't Come Again and Never Gonna Be. And it's available right now on iTunes. So on this episode of the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast, we're going to be doing a topic on singers who have crossed all genres. Please help me welcome my returning guest, Miss Jackie Carson. Hey, Jackie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing, Samuel?
I'm doing fine, and you? Welcome back to my show. Glad
Thank
to
you.
have you back. We're going to talk about everything you experience out in California, and we're going to talk about that in our episode. So let us begin, shall we? Now, the last time we talked about everything. And since you grew up in Harrisville, Pennsylvania, what was the environment that you grew up in that made you the woman today?
I think I was exposed to a lot of 50s and 60s music because my dad was in a band. He was a guitarist in a band, so they always had records playing and other band members and things around when I was a little kid. And then he had thousands of records, and that's when I would sneak into his Motown records and listen to the Jackson 5, Sam Cooke. I love Sam Cooke. He's one of the best entertainers of all time. And I actually was inspired to try country. I like Shabuzi's song Tipsy. So he actually inspired me to try country because I saw he used to be hip hop, I guess, and then he went over to country. And I thought, why don't I try country as well and put soul into the country? And then it seemed to turn out okay so far.
Okay. Now, as I said in the intro, you grew up on Motown, soul, signals of the 60s, and hip hop. And now you're doing country. How does your singing voice matches those music genres?
I just think I have a versatile voice because I love so many different genres and so many different singers that I always sang with Motown, 50s and 60s doo-wop, and I would sing with like 80s pop singers like Susanna Hoffs from the Bangles. I would sing with a lot of those type of singers, and then Teddy Riley's 90s R&B, and I just kind of developed my singing voice from just loving so many different singers and singing with them all the time.
Now, when you were young, did you play any musical instruments? And if so, which musical instruments did you play?
I mainly played keyboard and organ whenever I was a little kid. I used to play by ear, and then I went to lessons for a few years in high school. And right now I'm in guitar lessons again. I took a handful of guitar lessons years ago, like a decade ago, and now I'm learning acoustic guitar because it's sometimes it's hard to get with bands, like with their schedules and everything. So I'm trying to learn how to play my own songs.
Now, how old were you when you started writing songs?
I was 8 years old.
Now, did you once work at BMI? And if so, how many years have you worked at BMI?
You know what? I've never worked at BMI. They're just my pro, and I just have it written down. Like they're the ones that collects my money for my music. I'm just registered there, and then I do have a publishing company under them, JM Carson Publishing. So it collects for my publishing and as a musician also, as a singer.
Oh, okay. Now that you are a singer and songwriter and have your own music publishing company, was singing and songwriting your calling?
I think it was. Ever since I was a little kid, I always knew I was different. I think I'm really intuitively gifted. I'm clairaudient and I'm clairvoyant as well, where you can see and hear spirits. And I think that plays a role with the songwriting. I think that God made me gifted in that way, and he made it so I can easily write melodies to different music. I guess it's called top lining, the form of songwriting that I do. I find music that I like that other singers write, like the background music, beats, just like hip hop beats, or I'll find guitar music from Nashville, and then I'll listen to thousands of beats, and then I save them in different apps, and then I'll write like a melody over top of their music. But I found out the term for it's called top lining, which I never knew before.
Now, before you got into the music industry, didn't you once work for the federal government? And if so, what did you work as in the federal government?
Yes, I'm still actually considered a Fed. I have a disease called dystonia, and I was getting really sick from Parkinson's medication, so I had to retire early. So I'm actually considered a Fed still. 22 years federal, and then 2 years for a federal contractor, USIS. So 20, like still ongoing. I guess 24 years doing background investigations for federal employment for all the federal agencies, like the U.S. military and stuff like that.
Mm,
So I'm
wow.
still getting, half. I still get half salary and all my benefits and everything like that. But it was kind of nice, even though I was getting so sick from Parkinson's medication. It was making me pass out and all kinds of stuff. The side effects are really bad from that medication, it's the same part of the brain, dystonia, that I have. And that's why they prescribed that type of medicine for me. But I almost think that it was God's calling, that he's like, I want you to work on music. Like now I can. I have a lot of time to work on songwriting and stuff like that, retiring early. So it gave me a lot more time, which is nice.
Okay. Now, let's talk about your new country song that I just mentioned in the intro. You have two new country songs. You have Don't Come Again and Never Gonna Be. Now, what's it like branching out to country music? And please share with our audiences on what those two songs are about.
Okay. It's actually, I feel like I have had more success with country than R&B. I'm not really sure exactly why. I think I don't know, but I maybe I'm just better. I wrote a better country song or something. I don't know, but I've actually been selling "Never Gonna Be" off the website. I've had a lot of people go in and they liked. Well, "Don't Come Again" was my first song, but they seem to really like that song and have actually been purchasing it off the website, buying a lot of downloads, and even recently somebody even bought like my original lyrics sheets and stuff like that from writing that song, which really meant a lot. I don't know if it's just that I have keep getting more and more experienced with songwriting because I've been doing it for so long, but I'm not really sure. I had a lot of heartbreak. Bad relationships is the reason that I wrote both of those songs. I dated a narcissist, which I think we talked about in the past. I dated a malignant narcissist that I believe he's a covert malignant narcissist that works in the music industry. And he had a hidden double life. And then whenever he kind of inflates his credentials some with music and says that he does more than he does, like he has some connections, but like inflates it to get more artists to come underneath him so he can manage them, and fibs pretty much to make himself sound like he's higher up than he is. And I found out that he was not telling the truth because I had Sony Records call me. I had their head attorney call me. His name's Wade Leake, and I reached out to him because he was pretty much taking advantage of a lot of us. There were these rappers in Chicago, these girls, the Chicago police killed her mother, and they had millions of dollars from it. And they got taken advantage of by him because he found out they wanted to make it as rappers. So then, being a sociopath or malignant narcissist, he thought, wow, I could get their hopes up. I'm going to get a bunch of money. They paid him $250,000, those girls. He took advantage of them. Like, that's how much he convinced them that he was like a high up in the music industry. And then he had like Sony Records on, and it's a big con thing in the industry. A lot of people in hip hop and stuff have to be careful. Hip hop, R&B, any genre. I've seen it even in country now. I've seen some come at me. There are so many people, and they could even have worked with a major label in the past, or they could, like, I know one that even managed a famous rapper. And a lot of times they start these artist development groups, and then they get your hopes up, and you're paying tons of money. And like, he's like, oh yeah, I know Sony and this and that. And you're paying a lot of money thinking that they're going to get you somewhere. And you're just paying their mortgage or for their sports cars, really. They really don't have the connections that they're saying, or they're inflating them. So I reached out to Sony on LinkedIn, where I met you, and I messaged a bunch of people at Sony Records after I left his label. I lost like $16,000 there. And I messaged the label, and I said his name, and I said, this guy, like, I ended up dating him, and I was telling a story, I was with this artist development group. And Sony Records, I was so proud of them, actually, because the head attorney told me, what's his name and like what labels he with and stuff like that. And they told me, they said, we're going to investigate him and we're going to get back to you in the future. And they actually did. Sony, they called me from like an internal line where I can't call them, but they called my number. And then Wade Leake investigated them and investigated him. And he said He used to work at a label that had Sony distribution, and that label wasn't together anymore. And he said, as far as I know, he does not have Sony at all. And he was like taking advantage of us. So I was going around. They hate whenever a narcissist hates whenever you like hurt their image. You know what I mean? They get mad. And being a malignant narcissist too, I was trying to warn people. I said he doesn't have Sony. He's lying. And then he was trying to smear me and lie about me and stuff like that because I'm telling the truth about him. And he's still taking advantage of artists. There are rappers that are paying him. I know one paid like 30,000, and they believe that he is legit. And even if I go to those rappers and if I say that guy doesn't really have Sony, he's lying to you. He's so good at gaslighting and lying. They're so charming that people believe him anyways. So I couldn't even go to some of the rappers that I know that he has under them right now. I couldn't even warn them if I wanted to because he brainwashes them so good to believe that I'm the liar. And so Sony called me and they said that pretty much he was lying. And then that's what happened. He had a hidden double life. And then he tried to marry her on my birthday. Like, I think to sadistically punish me for trying to warn people about him. It's terrible, isn't
Mm,
it?
yeah. Wow. This is my first time hearing your story. And as a former Viacom CBS Paramount employee, and in case you may not know, CBS was one of the three major networks that was TV, radio, and records. So CBS had records back then. They had record labels including Columbia, Epic, Columbia Masterworks, and the associated labels that took care of Philadelphia International Records, Gamble and Huff, and T-Net Records that was founded by the Isley Brothers. So after when records was sold to Sony back in 1987, I didn't come on board till I became a regular CBS employee back in 1989 of July 31st. Records was still in the building before they moved out of the building back in November of 1992, and that's when they moved into that AT&T building on Madison Avenue between East 53rd and East 54th Street. Now their new home is all the way down Madison Avenue and East 24th, 25th Street, somewhere in that neighborhood. But there was a special report back in 1981. It's entitled The Wrong Road to Stardom. And Ellen Flesher did that special report. So I want to give a shout out to Ellen Flesher. Ellen, if you're out there, if you know all about what's been happening with the recording industry and why so many CEOs are doing profits but not taking care of the recording artists. Ellen, if you're out there, please be a guest on my show. We wanted to send, a special message to those who wanted to get into music. And speaking of that, I have interviewed a member of the group Century. That's with the letter S on it. They were on a major record label, but there was some new faces coming in to the record labels. I don't know if it was Columbia or Atlantic Records, but there was some new faces in that department. So their debut LP was sitting on the shelf for a year. And just like in your situation, you had to get your attorneys, and the group had to get out of that major record label. So they've gone independent.
I've
So
heard that
as you
happens.
can, mhm. So as you can see now in the post-pandemic, a couple of our favorite artists, including Alicia Keys, Sheryl Crow, and Taylor Swift, they're no longer on the major record labels. They've gone independent. And this lady that I've interviewed, Priscilla Chu or Scylla, she has her own independent record label and she lives in Korea. And her mission was listen to the artists instead of profits. Because if record companies listen to the artist and not thinking about this to make them look good, then you're not going to get their artists, their marketing or promotion to get to the record stores or to the radio stations or to the music video channels. So that's not helping the artists. CEOs are helping themselves. And that's why so many artists, including the group that I just mentioned, they're no longer on the major record labels. They've gone independent
That's
so
why I
they
went
can get.
independent also because of all the scammers and stuff out there. I said I'm going independent by myself, and I've had better luck. Like since I've had better luck so
Yes.
far.
So, in other words, you have creative control. You can collaborate with on any of your tracks, not having the record CEO dictate to you and say you can't work with this artist or you can't sing that song and everything. But hey, you got your artistic freedom and you can do whatever you want, even though it may not rise and on the charts or the record sales. But most importantly, you're getting your freedom back where it should be. I'm very glad you brought that up. And like I said, a couple of guests that I interviewed on my podcast, they were telling me the same situation. So
They
I
have to be
wish you the
careful
best of
using
luck.
those names. Like using those names, they have to be careful. If somebody says I'm with Universal, I'm with Sony, and just because they say it doesn't mean it's true. So like anybody out
Mhm.
there that if you're in hip hop, and be careful because they're in big music cities. Like he's located in Georgia, and Atlanta is huge for R&B, and that's where
Mhm.
he's at. So just be careful if it says Sony, Universal. He even stole those girls that he got the 250,000 from. He stole their jewelry too when he was like in their house. They sent me a picture and he's wearing their jewelry that they were missing, and it was probably like a $12,000 necklace or something that he had on. They sent the picture. They go, not only did he con us out of that money, look, he's wearing our jewelry. So you just got to be really careful because there's a lot of narcissists in the music industry because of the fame and because of the money. So I just don't want to see anybody else get taken advantage of, especially in hip hop. That's where I've seen it the most.
Wow. Now, if you was a detective, I would have created my own, mystery series. I would be like half detective, half graphic artist, and then half DJ.
He didn't
That
know
would
I
have
was in
been awesome.
investigations whenever whenever at first he didn't realize how much in investigations I was in, and I was like, "Oh, let's just investigate him." And then I started finding out
Mhm.
all kinds of stuff. He didn't realize that.
Right. Uh-huh.
I'll save singers, save other artists.
Right. Uh-huh. Now, on a happier note, you just recently gotten back from Los Angeles meeting new producers. How did that turn out?
That went really well. I guess they have a songwriting expo called Durango Songwriters Expo every year, 4 times a year. And it's like an invite only type of thing. Like you get invited from somebody else in the industry that is that goes to the expo. And BMI is the one of the sponsors of it. You're speaking about BMI. They're one of the sponsors. And Megan Trainor was discovered there. The singer Megan Trainor, all about that bass. And I got invited. The woman that distributes me, they helped start country star Gabby Barrett. So then they invited me because I got number 12 in the UK on the iTunes chart for Don't Come Again under country. She was excited and she said, "Why don't you come to the Ventura Songwriting Expo?" So I went and it was really cool. I met a lot of people from the music industry, from Nashville, from California, and it went really well. You play your songs for them for like some of the heads of publishing from Nashville, and I played my song for the one, and he said he liked my unique singing voice, which made my day. Whenever, and I wonder if it's because of the soul music, being mixed with the country, like we were saying, like the different change. And he said, I love your unique voice. And then whenever I walked out, he grabbed my arm and said, I love your unique singing voice, and they said, "You know who that is?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry." Like I didn't. And they said he was the head of publishing in Nashville under like Universal Records or something like that, they said. So it was really cool. And then I ended up nope, just got texted by somebody. Just got texted by somebody. Sorry, I have the Bluetooth on in my car as I'm talking to you. but there's a lot of opportunities there. So if anyone ever has a chance to go to the Durango Songwriting Expo, I highly recommend it because you'll meet a lot of people from the industry. And they're talking about sending me to Megan Trainor's producers that helped start her when they actually sent her from there to do All About That Bass years ago. So I was really fortunate and happy that I went.
Speaking of Megan Trainor, did you get a chance to meet her while you was out in LA?
No, I didn't get a chance to meet her, but she just started at that Songwriters Expo. That's where she was discovered at.
Mm, okay. Now, as always, here's a question I always ask my guests: living or dead, which artist you wish you wanted to meet or to perform with?
To perform with. Let me think here. A lot of mine were from the 50s and 60s, like Sam Cooke, which I can't meet him, so I have to think about it. I'd like to sing. I'd like to sing something with Shabuzi. I'd like to perform with him because I love his song Tipsy. I'd love to write a country song with him.
Hmm, okay. Speaking of Shabuzi, we're about to do the Black Soul Music Experience Top 10 Artists Who Have Crossed All Genres. Now, here's how it works. We're going to do like a top 10 artist countdown, like the show, America's Top 10, hosted by the late Casey Kasem. And we're going to start at the bottom five. We're going to find out who was the best artists who have done all genres, but didn't get any recognition. In other words, they were on that record label, but the record label that they were on didn't get marketed or promoted. When we get to the top five, we're going to find out who was the best million selling artist that have crossed all genres. Did that artist receive any top 10 number one hits that have crossed different genres from different decades? Did that artist receive a gold or platinum or double platinum or triple platinum or today's diamond platinum in the album and single? Did that artist perform that song on American Bandstand or Soul Train or The Midnight Special or NBC's Saturday Night Live or Solid Gold? Or did that artist perform on PBS, whether they had great performances or had their special on PBS during Pledge Month? Or did that artist was on any primetime specials on CBS or NBC or ABC? Or did that artist had their music video? Was it aired on BET or MTV or VH1 or any other different music video channels across the country? Or did they have that live concert special where it was either aired on HBO or Showtime? So I'm going to start off with my top 10 singers that crossed over all genres, and then and after I finish that, I'll let you do yours. So I'll
Okay.
let you do the thinking, and I'll start with mine. Now I'm gonna start with number 10, the late Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers came on the scene back in the early 70s. He started out in pop and soft rock, and his group was called First Edition. I only knew him because they had their own variety show called Rolling Over the River, which was aired in syndication, and their sponsor was Noxzema Skin Cream. Now, he'll be best known for his shades and beards. That's who he was back in the 70s. But then by the mid 70s, he switched over the country. So he got rid of the shades and just let the beard grow. So he had all of his top 10 hits, including The Gambler, Lucille, and his number one hit, Lady, which is crossed over on Billboard's Hot 100 pop singles charts and number one on Billboard's country singles charts. And in case you may not know, that song was written by Lionel Richie. So
Oh, I
he
didn't realize
crossed,
that.
hmm
I love Lionel
crossed
Richie.
all, yep, crossed all genres and everything. So we'll put Kenny Rogers at number 10. He did pop and country. Number 9, I'm going to put a tie. We'll have Pink, and she came on the scene back in 2001 with her debut LP, In the Middle, with her song called There You Go. and she had some other songs, including "You Make Me Sick." And then she started going to in the pop scene with her LP called "Misunderstood," with her top 10 hit "I'm Gonna Get This Party, So You Better Start." Yeah, that song. And then 2003, she went over to rock, and she had her LP called Try This. And she had a song called Trouble and If God Was a DJ. And I saw her perform that on NBC's Saturday Night Live back in December of 2003. And the guest host was the Reverend Al Sharpton. So when I saw her performing, I was like, she crossed pop, rock, and R&B. So we'll put Pink at number 9. And I'm going to tie that with Beyonce. Yes, Beyonce been crossing genres. So she dipped into hip hop and R&B. And yes, she did a country LP called Cowboy Carter. Her album was at number 1 on Billboard's Hot 100 Pop Singles charts and also number 1 on Billboard's Country Albums charts. Now, before her album, she did a country song called Daddy's Lessons. That was from her LP called Lemonade. And then when she performed that song with the Dixie Chicks, now known as the Chicks, I don't know, it was the CMA Awards or the American Music Awards, but she performed it with them. So then you got a lot of backlash from the country music fans and saying, why is Beyonce being on the stage doing country with the Dixie Chicks? You should be going back to your R&B and hip hop world and
They should
things
let her
like
do
that.
it. Leave her alone. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
And
It's
then when
wrong.
her song Texas Hold'em, wow, I was at the club Friday night and the DJ was playing that song. And then when I was playing that song back in December of 2024, I was doing a gig for the Toastmasters in the Co-op City section of the Bronx. And one of the ladies came to me, "You got any line dances?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "We don't want no Casper slide. We do not want the Cupid shuffle. We want that other line dance." So I told her I got Beyonce, Texas Hold'em. He said, "All right, play that." And let me tell you, they loved it. So
I
I
love how
played
she
it
brings
at
her daughter with her on stage. I love that when she has her daughter with her. I
yes.
think it's adorable. She's adorable.
Uh, uh-huh. So we'll put Beyonce, and I tied that with Pink at number 9. Number 8, Lionel Richie, former lead singer of the Commodores, and he went on his own in 1982 with his self-titled debut LP. And then in 1983, he had all genres. His LP "Can't Slow Down," um, wonderful million-selling songs. He did a reggae song called "All Night Long."
I remember
That
it.
was a Caribbean song. And he did some pop. And yes, he dipped into some country with a song called "Stuck on You." That was crossed over on all the radio stations: black radio, top 40 radio, and country radio. And it was a top 10 hit for Lionel Richie. So we'll put Lionel Richie at number 8. Number 7, Darius Rucker.
Oh,
He
I was
was
going to
one
name
of the
him. He's
former
great.
lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, and he was singing everything: pop, alternative, rock, and yes, country. So we'll put Darius Rucker at number 7. Number 6, Madonna. She was singing all genres of music. She was playing pop, blue eyed soul, dance, and electronica music. So she was dipping into some different genres. So we'll put Madonna at number 6. Number 5, the Eagles. They're known for their southern rock back in the 70s, but they crossed all genres. They sing pop, blue eyed soul, folk, roots, and soft rock. So I love a couple of their ballads, including "I Can't Tell You Why." That's one of my favorites. So I can just listen to that. So I'll put the Eagles at number 5. Number 4, the Pointer Sisters. They made their debut back in 1973 with their self titled debut LP on the ABC Blue Thumb label. They were singing genres. They were singing jazz. They were singing soul. And then by the later mid 70s, they dipped into some country music with their song called Fairy Tale. It won them a Grammy Award for Best Country Female Performance. And then they dipped into some soft rock and they did the remake of Bruce Springsteen's Fire and then dipped into some other genres as well. So we'll put the Pointer Sisters at number 4. Number 3, Chicago. Yes, when they first came out in 1969, they had a blend of everything of jazz, blues, and blue eyed soul. And when they got into the mid 70s, they dipped into some disco. And then by the 80s, they got into some soft rock. Came out in 1969. They were known as the Chicago
I'm still in my
Transit
podcast.
Authority. That was back in 1969. So then they had to change it to Chicago. So I'll put Chicago at number 3. Number
Okay.
2, I have Linda Ronstadt. When she was a member of the Stone Ponies, she went out on her own. She dipped into everything: pop, soft rock, soul, jazz, country, and Latin music. Best known for her LP Cachones de mi Padre, was a top 10 album hit, won her a Grammy Award for Best Latin Recording. So we'll put Linda Ronstadt at number 2. Number 1, I had to put a tie for Aretha Franklin, who was
Sorry, you
doing,
were almost at the house. I'm sorry. I don't mean to
yeah.
interrupt you.
Okay, so we'll put Aretha Franklin. She did some gospel, soul, R&B, pop, and jazz. She had a jazz album called Aretha's Jazz, which was an unreleased tracks of
Headbutting.
some jazz recordings. And then, yes, the
I'll be in a
unthinkable,
second.
1998, she was into singing opera. When she performed at the 1998 Grammy Awards live at Radio City Music Hall, this was outstanding. When Luciano Pavarotti was supposed to perform, then he wasn't feeling well. And then the producers came to Aretha and said, "Can you do this?" And she said, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." And she did it. Standing ovation. Everybody was cheering, "Bravo!" And then you have some singers were in tears and saying, like, "Can't believe Aretha can do opera." So I had to put Aretha Franklin there along with Ray Charles. Ray Charles did it all. He did soul, he did blues, he did R&B, jazz, and country.
Yep.
So he dipped into everything. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee for the class of 1986. So we'll put Ray Charles and Aretha Franklin at number 1.
Sorry,
So
it's like
that's
dark.
my top 10 top 10 singers that crossed all genres. So, Jackie, do you have any of your favorites?
I would say I'll just start with the working my way up with. You already named two of them. Where I was impressed by Beyonce crossing over. With she was with Destiny's Child, and then doing the Cowboy Carter and all that stuff. I loved when she brought her daughter on stage. I think she seems like a nice woman. She's talented, and I'm happy for her going to different genres. I
Mhm,
hope that more people will follow. I think she's leading the way for everyone else. That's what I think.
mhm,
And also, you named another one I really liked was Darius Rucker. I loved Hootie and the Blowfish, and I love Wagon Wheel by him. That's another good one. And he inspired me. He sings, great singer, great guy. I think I follow him on Instagram, I think, but really like Darius Rucker and Shabuzi. I think really inspired everybody. I really like the stomp beat in his music, the stomp beat sound. I like. I was like, that is so cool sounding. That's what made me want to do country music. So Shabuzi is another one, and I don't know if I know as many of you that so many singers and how many different like Madonna, for example, like all the different genres that she played. Let me think if I know any other ones that have been across the different ones, like you. Um, I have to think about it a little bit. It's
Hmm.
hard.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I know as many that did country and everything.
Uh-huh. Well, you mentioned Shabuzi, who
Yeah,
started
Shabuzi.
country.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shabuzi. Darius Rucker, Beyonce, Shabuzi. I know there's some singers that have been like between crossing between pop and country, like Shania Twain.
Hmm.
She's one that her and Taylor Swift, I think, were some of the first ones to go from the country, and they were doing the crossover with pop.
Hmm.
So let me think who else. Then there's Little Nas X that did
Old
Old
Town
Town
Road.
Road. Yeah,
Yes.
he did that with Billy
It
Ray
was
Cyrus.
it was a top 10 hit, number 1 on Billboard's country
My kids
charts
liked it.
back
It was good.
back in 2019. But when I heard on the news that the Billboard magazine that took the song off the charts, to saying it wasn't country enough. So then you just said Billy Ray Cyrus put it back in, remix it, and made it back on number 1 on Billboard's country charts. And I saw the music video too that had Chris Rock in there, you know, in country and everything. So that would make it real good.
Yep, I like my kids really like that song a lot. That by Lil Nas. They played it all the time.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think who else. Know if I know too many crossover singers besides just them with country and the ones with the pop like Shania and the other one. I don't know if I know too many that have done between the different genres.
Okay.
Um,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put Stevie Wonder in there too because he did a couple of jazz tunes too. So he's
I
best
love
known for
Stevie
that
Wonder.
smooth jazz song "Ribbon in the Sky." So he dipped into a couple of jazz songs as well. And I don't want to leave out MFSB. That's Gamble and Hupp's Philadelphia International House Band. So they're known for the TSOP. We know it as the theme from Soul Train. So they did a couple of albums. They dipped into some soul and pop and jazz.
We have a visitor.
So they're known for that. Oh, I see that cat.
He's called up. He wants to visit. He came in
Mhm.
here. I love Wagon Wheel by Darius Rucker. I always loved Hootie and the Blowfish, but I almost think that I like his country even more than some of whenever they go over to country like Shabuzi,
Mhm.
I love their pop or their hip hop and the other genres, but some of their country's just amazing that they do, singers like that. Darius Rucker, I know not too long ago, he lost his voice. I think he was singing a lot or something. Darius Rucker, and he
Mhm.
was upset about it. And I'm just like, no need to apologize. Like I'm sure that a lot of singers they have to sing so many different concerts in a row and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
he's amazing. What are
Yes.
you doing, Henry? I wish I could name more. I can't really name too many more that have crossed over between the different genres. I can't really think of any. You know way more singers than I do, I think.
Yeah, because I be like tuning into different artists a lot, and then when I would see some of different stuff that they were doing, I was like, they did that. I was like, whoa, they really did that. So, I'm not that much of a country music fan, but when I mentioned Ray Charles, who did country, and I saw a couple of specials back then, they had some country music special, and I saw Ray Charles. I said, what's Ray Charles doing on a country music special? And then when I saw the movie Ray, which starred Jamie Foxx, he was telling a story about Ray Charles and how Ray Charles told a story about being from the South and being in the country. So I said, oh, okay. So now I see that Ray Charles was doing everything. He was on Atlantic Records for a while, doing some R&B and jazz and soul. And then he switched over to ABC. He did his unthinkable LP called Ray Charles Modern Sounds in Country Western Music, Volumes 1 and 2, which had the song I Can't Stop Loving You and Well, You Don't Know Me. Those one of his two big hits. And let me tell you, I've downloaded a couple of his songs as well. So my late mother had that LP, but she didn't take care of it because the album was all scratched up and everything.
Stevie Wonder was an influence of a lot of people. I know he was one of my influences when I was a little kid. Same with the singer Sia. Sia looked up to
Uh-huh.
Stevie Wonder too.
Uh-huh.
She was influenced by him.
Yes. Alrighty. So we did pretty good. So, and you did too.
And Henry joined
Yes.
us.
Oh, okay. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for being back here on the Black Soul Music
Thanks for
Experience
having me. I
podcast.
appreciate it. Or thank you.
Yes, and hope you had a wonderful time in Los Angeles and continued success on those two new country songs that you've done. And hopefully, I'll hope we get a chance to see them on YouTube. So, thank you so much for being back here on my show and continued success.
Thanks for having me. I hope that you
Oh,
guys have a great weekend.
oh, yes. Now, before we go, where can we follow you on social media?
On also regular social media, I'm under Jackie Carson, just like the comedian Johnny Carson, and Jack M. Cars 25. And then I'm on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and all those channels under Jackie Carson.
Okay, yes. Download all of the singers who have crossed all genres that we have talked about on this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Visit iTunes.com, Spotify.com, or purchase a CD at Amazon.com. Make sure you follow Jackie Carson. Look for her and follow her on Instagram at Jack M Cars 25. And yes, check out all of her music videos right now on YouTube. And yes, look for her on Spotify. And make sure you check out all of her music. And it's available right now. And we'll be looking forward to looking for those country songs that's playing right now. Stream it, download it, buy it on iTunes. You will love them. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check out this episode, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for me on these five platforms. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And the link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel Wilson Jr.'s. Don't forget the S at the end, dash studio. And I will be posting this episode on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And if you have a hard time getting on to riverside.fm, then please become a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience podcast number 6. Got a computer? Make sure you use your email address and your password. Go to the Patreon homepage where you see all of the Patreon shows done by different creators. Make sure you go to the search box and type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast 6, the number 6, where you can check out all of my audio and video podcast episodes and check out all of the video podcast clips that you may have missed. And if you have a hard time getting on to Patreon, then I will be posting this episode on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. All you need to do is go to the YouTube homepage and type in the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. If you like this episode, if you love my podcast, please subscribe, please support, please give me a thumbs up, please leave a comment, and please pass it on. Thank you for joining me as I close out this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience.
See you later.
Well, that's about it for this edition of the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. I'm Sam Wilson Jr. Thank you for joining me, and please tune in next week for an all-new episode. The Black Soul Music Experience podcast is sponsored by the support of listeners and viewers like you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the Black Soul Music Experience podcast. Look for my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Pocket Cast. And don't forget the link. The link is riverside.fm/studio/Samuel-Wilson Jr.'s-studio. And don't forget to check out my audio and video podcast episodes by becoming a member and subscribe to patreon.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please check out my video podcast episodes by subscribing to youtube.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. And please leave your comments, feedbacks, and replies by going to my Facebook homepage. Go to facebook.com/the Black Soul Music Experience Podcast. You can also tweet me on X, aka Twitter, at Sam Wilson Jr. 66, and follow me on Instagram at SAMM.Y2980. As always, partying, remember this: reach for the top and your dreams will come true, and it can happen to you. From all of us, take care. God bless. Thanks for listening. Have a good week, and please be safe.